This video was brought to you by Brilliant. For the past week or so, King Charles has been doing a tour of Commonwealth countries ahead of the biennial Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, which enjoys the catchy acronym of CHOGM. Now, at first glance, the Commonwealth seems pretty pointless. After all, it doesn't have any formal constitution or bylaws, and it's sometimes framed as a pointless imperial throwback. But even if it doesn't really, do anything, the Commonwealth is actually surprisingly popular. Most of the British Empire's former territories have chosen to stay part of it, and even countries with no ties to the Empire have now started joining, with Togo and Gabon becoming the 55th and 56th members in 2022. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what the Commonwealth actually is, and why it's expanding. Before we start, if you're interested in global alliances and groupings like the Commonwealth, you might like our new poster, Every Global Alliance Explained, which shows, in slightly confusing detail, how every country interacts with one another. It's available by clicking the link in the description, and for a limited time, you can get 20% off with code Commonwealth. Now, in order to properly discuss the Commonwealth, we need to first understand its ties to the British Empire. The empire began really in and around the early 1600s under Elizabeth I, when settlers successfully set up a colony in Jamestown. It would then expand massively, at its peak covering around 13.71 million square miles, or roughly a quarter of the world's total land area. Now, many of the colonies were obviously brutally oppressed and had little opportunity for self-governance. This started to change though in the late 1800s, when some countries with white populations were granted dominion status, meaning that while they remained part of the empire, they were granted the right to self-rule. The first country to be given dominion status was Canada in 1867. This was followed by Australia in 1901 and South Africa in 1910. Now, it was around this time that more dialogue was opening up between member states of the empire. The best example of such dialogue were conferences between the leaders of the colonial nations. The first of these, referred to as colonial conferences, took place in 1887. It marked Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee and was designed to foster closer relations between the colonies, the Dominion of Canada, and the United Kingdom. Further such conferences took place periodically over the next few decades, but the next big development was at the 1926 Imperial Conference, when the United Kingdom and its dominions agreed that they were equal in status, and that the grouping would now become officially known as the British Commonwealth. The 1931 Statute of Westminster implemented this decision and granted more autonomy to the dominions. Now, the key thing to note here is that in order to become a member of the Commonwealth, states had to sign a declaration affirming their allegiance to the Crown. This commitment, though, only lasted until 1949, when the British Commonwealth became simply the Commonwealth. This was the birth of the modern Commonwealth as we know it. The head of the Commonwealth holds very little power these days, and the role is entirely ceremonial. While in theory this position could be held by anyone in the Commonwealth, so far all three title holders have been British: King George VI, Elizabeth II, and now King Charles III. Alongside the head of the Commonwealth is the Chair in Office, who hosts biennial meetings of the leaders and represents the Commonwealth at international meetings. It's a 2-year rotational role, with the power passing from leader to leader at the biennial Heads of Government meeting. Right now, Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, holds the title, although he's expected to hand it over to the Samoan Prime Minister at this month's meeting. Now, at its inception in 1949, only 8 states were part of the Commonwealth: the UK, Canada, Australia, South Africa, Pakistan, New Zealand, India, and Sri Lanka. By 1970, though, this had grown to 31, as more and more former dependencies gained sovereignty but decided to stay part of the Commonwealth. And by 1997, it had grown to 52 after Fiji rejoined. A majority of Commonwealth countries are small states, with small island states constituting almost half of its membership. Now, you probably expect the Commonwealth membership to shrink a bit over time, as Britain's colonial ties fade into the past and former colonies withdraw. However, that's not what's happened. In fact, it's actually grown, and in 1995, Mozambique became the first country to join that had never previously been part of the British Empire. They were followed by Rwanda in 2009, then Gabon and Togo in 2022. taking the total number of Commonwealth countries to 56 today. On top of this, South Sudan, Madagascar, Yemen, Algeria, Suriname, Burundi, and the unrecognized state of Somaliland, which used to be the British Protectorate of Somalia, have all expressed an interest in joining at some point in the past decade or so. Zimbabwe also applied to join in 2018, having withdrawn in 2003 after the Commonwealth disputed the results of the 2002 presidential election. Which poses the question, why is the Commonwealth expanding? And why are countries with no ties to the British Empire apparently so keen on joining? Well, there are some nominal perks, like the Commonwealth Games, which is like a mini Olympics where us Brits get to pretend we're amazing at sports. And there's also the Commonwealth Africa Investment Fund, although the sums involved are pretty tiny. It also reflects the enduring soft power of the British monarchy. When Togo joined in 2022, for instance, Togo's foreign minister said that the membership tapped a, quote, craze for Englishness among his countrymen. Certain countries also use it to demonstrate their sovereignty or independence, which is why South Sudan applied immediately after becoming a new country in 2011, and why Somaliland has applied to join, although the Commonwealth is unlikely to take such a controversial step. The Commonwealth has also done a surprisingly good job at encouraging good governance in its member states. The Commonwealth 1971 Singapore Declaration formalized the group's commitment to individual liberty, freedom from racism, peace, and international cooperation, while the 1991 Harare Declaration added democracy, good government, and human rights to the Commonwealth's shared principles. The Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group also has the power to make recommendations for corrective actions when member states don't live up to these principles, like apartheid South Africa or Mugabe Zimbabwe, and members can be suspended or expelled if no action is taken. The Commonwealth also plays an important role in making sure member states' elections are free and fair, and the Commonwealth Secretariat has observed 160 elections in 40 Commonwealth countries. But perhaps the main reason is it's proven to be a relatively effective diplomatic forum. It gives small countries like the Bahamas and Barbados the chance to speak to bigger countries like India and Australia about stuff like trade, debt, and climate change. It also allows neighbouring countries to get to know each other, which was one of the reasons given for South Sudan's membership bid in 2011, and why most of the new countries trying to join are from Africa and have at least one neighbour already in the Commonwealth. It's a bit like the G7 or BRICS, loose groupings of states that don't really have a formal function, but nonetheless seem to enjoy hanging out. Now, what's something that the TLDR audience have in common? Well, they're willing to learn something new every day. And while our videos are a pretty good start, a lot of the stuff we talk about can seem pretty complicated, especially when we dive into analytics and detailed data. Luckily, there's a fun and easy way to learn more, which doesn't cost thousands of dollars or take years of schooling. That's because Brilliant is the best way to learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI. Each lesson is filled with hands-on problem solving, broken down into accessible chunks designed around your busy schedule. That means that by spending just a few minutes a day, you can accumulate new knowledge over time in an actually fun way. And you'll feel the satisfaction that comes with bettering yourself and staying ahead. For instance, perhaps you promised yourself that this year you'll learn more programming skills, but you've just not had enough time and the year's now coming to an end. Brilliant's growing number of programming courses are a great way to build the foundations and learn real-world applications with courses on Python, essential coding elements like loops and variables, and even developing your mind to think like a programmer. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR or scan the QR code on screen. Or you can just click the link in the description. That way you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks for your support, and thanks for watching TLDR.